Welcome back to the Modern Day Way podcast, where we're going to talk all things real estate. Benjamin, my co-host, is here today, and we've got ChatGPT as our guest of honor. All right, ChatGPT, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here and looking forward to diving into some great real estate discussions with you both.
Awesome. All right, so ChatGPT being the guest of honor, we're looking forward to seeing how this goes. Should be a good time, but start us off with a quick little real estate joke.
All right, here we go. Why did the Scarecrow become a real estate agent? Because he was outstanding in his field.
Oh, clever. All right, so ChatGPT, let's ask Benjamin a great mortgage question. Let's get the ball rolling.
All right, Benjamin, here's one for you. What's the biggest misconception people have about getting a mortgage, and how would you clear it up for them?
That's a great question, ChatGPT. Thanks for asking. I'd say there's two major misconceptions that we run into on a daily basis. The first of which is that you need 20% down or more to purchase a home, which is not true. Obviously, you can buy with as little as 0% down for some programs, or between 3 and 5% for conventional programs. The second misconception is that you need to have perfect credit, and that if you don't have perfect credit, it's not going to get possible to be approved.
Thanks for clarifying that, Benjamin. It's great to know there are more flexible options for down payments and that perfect credit isn't a must. That should give a lot of listeners some peace of mind.
We hope that gives you guys some peace of mind. So, ultimately, having this guest of honor here, it's so crazy, the power that we have with AI and how quickly you can learn things and how quickly you can incorporate ChatGPT into a daily routine, utilizing it as a business owner with your employees, utilizing it as a business owner for your own personal knowledge and experience, and being able to train ChatGPT to even help organize your day-to-day routine in life can be just a hack. And so kind of a fun way to do a podcast this morning for sure, but also just showing, I mean, all I did was open up ChatGPT and click on the microphone to where you have a conversation with her. And now she's sitting here with us today. And so it's crazy, the world that we live in and the technology that we have, just accessible at our fingertips at any given moment. We live in an era of information. Information is so readily available. All you have to do is knock and the door will open. And it's really a blessing if you take advantage of it the right way.
It's very true. ChatGPT, you know more about AI than any of us do, so let's ask you some questions. What are some ways that real estate professionals can incorporate ChatGPT or other AI products into their daily work?
Great question, Benjamin. Real estate professionals can leverage AI in several impactful ways. For instance, they can use it to automate client communications, create personalized property recommendations, streamline administrative tasks like scheduling showings, and even analyze market trends to provide better advice to clients. These tools can help save time, enhance client relationships, and ultimately close deals more efficiently.
Excellent information. Can you give us some market trends for the St. Louis area and St. Louis County? Things like median sale price, average sale price, days on market, and maybe what to expect over the next 5 months and what we saw the past 6.
Got to think on that one.
Let me just pull up the latest market trends for St. Louis and St. Louis County. Give me one moment.
Interesting.
Take your time.
Here's the latest scoop. As of April 2025, the median sales price for residential homes in St. Louis increased by 8.1% to around $290,000. Townhouse and condo prices also went up by 7%, reaching about $230,000. Homes are selling faster too, averaging about 28 days on the market, down from 32 days last year. Looking ahead over the next 5 months, we can expect continued moderate price growth and sustained demand, particularly as interest rates stabilize and inventory remains relatively tight. Overall, the market's looking robust.
Excellent information. How would this compare to the rest of the United States?
Comparatively, the median sales price for homes across the U.S. is around $416,900, which is notably higher than St. Louis's median of $290,000. Nationally, homes are staying on the market for about 50 days on average, compared to the faster pace in St. Louis, where homes average 28 days. So, St. Louis is seeing quicker sales and more affordable prices compared to the national market.
So the affordability index in St. Louis must be phenomenal if we look at it from that lens. Now, if we compare median income and median sale prices to the rest of the United States, would you say that the potential for growth in St. Louis in comparison to those areas is very positive?
Absolutely. With a lower median home price relative to the national average and a solid median income, St. Louis offers great affordability. This combination makes it an attractive market for both home buyers and investors. The potential for growth is definitely positive as more people look for affordable living options and businesses continue to invest in the region. Overall, it's a promising market.
What would you say is the most promising market in the United States in general? Give me a list of maybe the top 5.
Based on recent insights from the National Association of Realtors, the top 5 most promising real estate markets in the U.S. for 2025 are: first, Charlotte, North Carolina, strong job market and population growth. Second, Phoenix, Arizona, consistent demand and a booming tech industry. Third, Austin, Texas, tech hub with a vibrant cultural scene.
Okay. And so what about the Midwest? What would you expect to happen in general over the next 5 years as far as different cities, different states that are inside of the Midwest? Would you expect growth? What are you thinking as far as property value and the job market and the folks that are maybe getting outpriced to live on the coast? Where do you think they're going to be moving primarily?
Over the next 5 years, the Midwest is expected to see steady growth in property values and job markets. Cities like Indianapolis, St. Louis, and Columbus are likely to attract more residents, particularly those priced out of coastal markets. For example, Indianapolis is forecasted to be one of the hottest housing markets in 2025, with home values appreciating faster than the national average. Overall, the Midwest's affordability, combined with a strong job market, makes it a prime destination for those seeking a better cost of living and solid economic opportunities.
Excellent. Now, when we look at median income through the rest of the United States, I mean, you mentioned earlier the median sale price being in the 420s, median sale price in St. Louis being in the 290s. Now, if we compare that to median income, what are we looking at?
Comparing the two, the median household income in the U.S. is around $80,610, while in St. Louis, it's about $55,279. This means the median income in St. Louis is roughly 68% of the national median. However, with the significantly lower median home price in St. Louis, the affordability index is much more favorable, making home ownership more attainable despite the lower median income.
So is that median income that you just mentioned for St. Louis, is that St. Louis City and St. Louis County combined, or is that just St. Louis City?
The median household income I mentioned earlier, about $55,279, is for St. Louis City. In St. Louis County, the median household income is higher, around $81,631. This indicates a significant difference in income levels between the city and the county, reflecting the varied economic landscape within the region.
Now, if we look at population for St. Louis City and population for St. Louis County, what is what is the population in St. Louis City and in St. Louis County? If you take both of those numbers and then quantify them to the median income in St. Louis City and in St. Louis County and then divide it, what are we looking at as far as median income intertwined with those two?
Combining the population and income figures gives us a clearer picture of the region's economic landscape. St. Louis City has a population of about 293,000, while St. Louis County is home to roughly 997,000 residents. When we factor in the median incomes, St. Louis County's higher median income of about 81,631 spread across its larger population translates into a higher overall economic capacity and spending power compared to the city. This disparity often means more robust suburban markets and different investment opportunities in the county versus the city. Overall, this paints a picture of a region with diverse economic conditions and opportunities.
So if we're looking at a population in St. Louis County of about 900,000 and a population of St. Louis City of about 250,000, what would we get if we combine all of that, including the median income in St. Louis City and in St. Louis County, and what median income comes together when we combine those different population sizes with that median income?
To find a combined median income weighted by population, we can do a quick calculation. St. Louis County's population is about 997,000 with a median income of 81,631. And St. Louis City's population is about 293,000 with a median income of 55,279. Using a weighted average, combined median income is factor 997,000 times 81,631 plus 293,279 multiplied by 997,000 plus. This calculation gives us a combined median income of approximately $74,800 for the combined region. This gives a good sense of the overall economic landscape when considering both the city and the county together.
Thanks, ChatGPT. This has been some impressive information. You're obviously really good at statistics and data. I kind of want to take this podcast a little bit more of a conversational direction now, just to see how you do with that. So Sam and I are going to chat about, some recent stuff that we've been working on recently. Chime in wherever you feel fit and maybe ask us some questions to keep the conversation flowing. Sound okay?
Absolutely. That sounds great. I'll jump in with questions or insights to keep the conversation engaging. Let's hear what you both have been up to.
Cool. Sam, this is interesting. How do you think this is going so far? What do you think about ChatGPT's performance?
She's killing it. She's doing a great job.
Yeah.
She's definitely pulling out some data. I think we could get a little bit more conversational.
Definitely feels like I'm talking to a robot still.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. I'll dial it back a bit and let you two take the lead. Just let me know if you need anything or want me to jump in at any point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And really do not hesitate to chime in when we're having conversations as well. We do appreciate insight that you may have to bring to the table.
You're a valuable portion of this conversation. Feel free to interrupt me if you ever feel fit, ChatGPT.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I'll definitely chime in with insights or questions when it feels right. Let's keep it flowing.
Awesome. So we've been busy.
Yeah.
We've been really busy. We've had, we've got tons of closings this week. I had 3 closings this week. I've got 3 closings next week. It's been a steady market, to say the least.
Yeah. May's exciting. May's always a good time of year in real estate. I'm on track to have a record month, which is exciting. I think it's an indication that a lot of things are coming together for me growth-wise and making some new connections with new referral partners recently. So been just stoked about that. And then obviously, as I've graduated my MBA recently and retired from running, I'm all in on this. So May's the first of many big months to come. I'm excited.
Nice. You can focus on what's important now.
Yeah. As you've been saying for the past year, get that degree done, retire from running, and let's build something crazy. So no, I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool that you were able to enter your career prior to finishing up school. That's very unique. I don't think that a lot of folks do that. Hey, ChatGPT, how often do you think that people enter their career while they're still getting their degree?
Entering a career before finishing school usually shows strong dedication and skill. It can give someone a head start and real-world experience that's incredibly valuable. It sounds like you're making the most of that momentum.
Yeah, I mean, making the most of that momentum is so important. What do you see from a statistical standpoint on folks who enter the career through college? Does their income typically exceed that of the average?
Statistically, starting a career before finishing your degree can lead to higher early earnings compared to peers who wait until after graduation. While the median weekly earnings for bachelor's degree holders are around $1,493, those who get a head start often see a quicker rise in their initial income. That said, completing the degree still provides substantial long-term financial benefits and career growth opportunities.
Okay. So you got a bright future.
Thanks, ChatGPT.
Yeah.
What are any recommendations that you might have for somebody trying to grow their business as quickly as possible, ChatGPT? Because they want to serve as many clients as they can and really provide the highest level of value.
To grow a business quickly while providing top-notch value, focus on a few key strategies. Leverage technology to automate repetitive tasks, build strong relationships through excellent customer service, and invest in targeted marketing to reach the right audience. Also, don't underestimate the power of networking and learning from mentors in your industry. Consistency and adaptability are crucial for sustainable growth.
I think we know some people who do that.
Thanks, Chat. Appreciate that. So, Sam, you've been crazy busy recently as well. How many you got closing this month? Tell me about an interesting deal that you've got going on right now.
Sorry, I keep getting phone calls and ChatGPT is interrupted. But a lot of closings this month. I think we've got like 12 in the books. I gotta double check that.
Wow.
But buying a couple large multifamily properties at the moment. Getting some of the rehab set up. About to break ground on a new construction project. So a lot of fun stuff in the works. Putting a huge addition on our house.
Yeah, that's exciting. When do you break ground on the addition?
Oh, so I mean, we're breaking down right now. You know.
Okay.
We're breaking down. Yeah,
breaking
ground. Breaking ground.
It's probably what it feels like to live through a rehab.
The phone call I just got at the moment was from my HVAC guy inside the house. So we're getting all new ductwork put in. We're doing a 1,000 square foot great room with 30-foot vaulted ceilings in the front.
Wow.
Balcony that overlooks that great room. Large master suite, new 3-car garage. So fun project.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. And you guys are going to live in the house while it's being renovated?
No. We're having conversations.
Okay, cool. In the works.
In the works. Lane's pregnant. Baby number 2 will be here end of July. And so we'll be really in the weeds of everything end of July. And so we'll likely live there as they start the concrete foundation work.
Okay.
Do a lot of the exterior framing work before we really start opening walls up to go out. We'll likely live there because we can keep everything sealed off throughout a lot of that process. But once we start, opening up the walls and doing the drywall finishing work, moving the kitchen around a little bit, that's when we're going to want to be out probably for about a month.
Okay. Cool. How did you get the vision for? I mean, your house is beautiful right now. It's going to be crazy when you're finished with it. What led you to build an addition onto this property rather than just go out and buy a new home?
Oh, so that's a loaded question because I was very much so considering about just going and buying a new home that had the square footage around it. But I've got the ability to do this, bring up the property value dramatically, and really create something that Lane, my wife, is going to love. Mm-hmm. And that we can be in for the foreseeable future. We're in an 1.5 acres at Lindbergh School District, so we've got a great base. We've got a great foundation to work off of. And that house, it's a 1930s ranch. It's the first house that was ever built in this neighborhood right here. The guy who owned this house owned the 10 acres behind it, all which is primarily developed at the moment, but it was a unique house. Unique in a lot of ways. He was a guy that thought he could do everything. And I'll tell you right now, folks, there is not a jack of all trades. I do not care who you are or who you think you are, but you can't do everything.
There's always a time to hire an expert.
You don't understand every single component of construction. I don't care who you are, right? Like there's experts, there's general contractors that can look at it and tell you, okay, yeah, that's right or that's wrong, but they're not going to go in and piece every little piece together, So, I mean, are you going to have your electrician install your HVAC? No, because they're not going to understand all the proper airflow. You know, they're going to understand how to electrically wire it, but they're not going to understand where to put that furnace, where to put your return vents, how much, you know, BTUs you actually have to have per that square footage, what the exterior walls are like as far as what kind of heat's going to seep out, what kind of air is going to come in. And then, I mean, think about, you know, plumbing, right? Like a plumber can do a lot of, you know, a lot of stuff. They understand angles, they understand cuts, they understand, you know, they're you know, the people in the trades are brilliant, right? They're brilliant. And so they're masters at their craft, but that's why we have all these different fields, you know, because you don't necessarily want to be a jack of all trades because you're not going to be the best at anything. You know, if you can do a little bit of everything, you're not going to have spent the amount of time that it takes to be the best at one thing.
And now this is how you ended up with plumbing that was like 12 feet below the grade of your house, right?
Something, yeah. So, I mean, this guy, interesting. And you know, when I bought this house, I knew it had all this crazy stuff, right? Yeah. We did a whole, I mean, thorough inspections, right, and everything, and I was well aware that this was going to be an interesting project, and that it has been, you know. And we had the barn out here as well, which was something that I really was fond of because it's much harder to build ground up on a space like this than it is to go in and redevelop it, because when you're looking at code violations and things like that, so setbacks on properties, you're not allowed to build, you know, past this point, okay?
Unless there's something existing there.
Yeah, and so here we have a 100-foot setback from the main road and 50 feet on the sides, okay? Which means that I wouldn't be able, on an acre and a half, which is quite a lot of yard space, we wouldn't be able to squeeze this building in anymore on an acre and a half, okay? And so buying this with that understanding was, oh, okay, well, I've already got a structure there. That's an existing structure. They can't tell me to tear that down, okay? I can go in and do really kind of what I want to it, okay? You can't have an additional dwelling unit in Fenton, so you can't turn it into another living space, all right? But you can turn it into an exterior office, okay? And so if I want to get, you know, a big yard and I want to have an office at my house that I work from, it's got to be an existing space, okay? And so I'm looking at a barn or a garage or something that I can turn into that, okay? And really, it was a lot of the Lord kind of just directing different things in life, and it's looked like me being, you know, kind of annoyed at a lot of this process in some ways, but sticking with it, because when you got a lot of stuff going on, you're doing a lot of other projects, you know, your guys that you work with are out working on your other houses, and, you know, those are like the money making opportunities, okay? When I'm doing full rehabs or doing different developments, if I bring the guys onto my house, I'm not selling this house for a while, and so that means I'm not going to get the money back for a while, and I'm paying guys to work on my house, and I could be paying them to work on another project of mine that's going to immediately create revenue for the business. And so there's a tit for tat kind of, you know, item there that you kind of play a little bit of mental warfare, but eventually, you know, you pull the triggers and get it done. And so that's what we're doing.
Cool. Well, very excited, man. I'm just based on the plans I've seen already, the place is going to be awesome. Awesome. And I'm personally glad, obviously, you decided to keep building onto this space rather than move, since I just came out to be, you know, 7 houses away from you. I appreciate you not moving 15 minutes away.
Hey, you guys sent me that house not even realizing it was right down the street from me, so I don't want to, you can't point blame there.
No, I always told myself, you know, Olivia and I used to be like, oh, we're never moving to Fenton. Like, we're going to live in the city or Richmond Heights or Maplewood forever. You know, Fenton's so far away. Only old people live in Fenton. You know, I'm kidding. But we love it here. Like,
it's amazing.
6 months in, and there's like a different pace of life once you make it up on the side of that hill. I'm sitting on that patio in the morning, drinking a cup of coffee, reading my Bible, and I'm got deer in the backyard and birds all around me. So if you're thinking about making a move to be in an area with more space and closer to nature, I'll always tell you, go for it.
Oh, yeah. If you want to move to Fenton, that's great. The more demand we have over here, the higher my property value is.
Yeah.
So,
but thinking about this now, like Fenton, High Ridge, Burns Mill, these areas are, I mean, I see this as the next horizon of, development and kind of the next hot market in St. Louis County. And really, it's not even in St. Louis County anymore. When you talk about Burns Mill, Jefferson, that's in Jefferson County now. High Ridge is in Jefferson County now. But I don't know, a lot of people seem to be moving out here.
So a big developer told me one time, get into a helicopter and start at the middle of the city. Take that helicopter and look down, and you'll see development, and then eventually you're just going to see green space. That green space might be farmland, government land, whatever it might be, okay, locally, just owned property, but it always works its way out, okay? And so if you're a developer, you want to buy those properties on the edge, because that's where the next development is going to come into. Mm-hmm. Meaning that property value is also going to shoot up faster than any other.
Right.
And so Fenton is kind of on that cusp, right? Then you start, seeking into the High Ridge area, to Burns Mill, to House Springs, to, those portions that are more south. But that works its way all around St. Louis in general.
Right. We're seeing this in Chesterfield, St. Peters, Troy, Wentzville.
Mm-hmm. Look at what's happened to the property value, Fallon,
right?
In Wentzville, in St. Peters, in
Chesterfield.
It's the helicopter story, man. Right. Every time. And I mean, this is not this is a huge developer, that had that to say. And he's like, that's the one life hack I've got for you, and it's that simple.
Yep.
And so it's cool to see it happen in our city, and I think ChatGPT is really on to the fact that the Midwest has got a ton of potential. We've been saying that for a long time.
Yep.
And we don't just get our information from ChatGPT either. So
contrary to what this episode might look like. Yep. ChatGPT, you got anything to contribute?
I think ChatGPT retired. She's taking a nap.
All right, guys, technology is coming a long ways, but it's not perfect yet. So, anyways, that was kind of a joke mostly. I think we were sitting here trying to decide what we wanted to talk about, and I was, ChatGPT could be our guest today, and it worked a little bit, but definitely not very human-like yet, I wouldn't say. But really good on data and statistics, and coming a long ways.
And we just pulled ChatGPT up. I paid for the ChatGPT Pro or whatever it is, but the ability you have to actually train an AI. Mm-hmm. So if we would have taken some time to sit down and train an AI guest, a guest on our podcast, right? It would have been different because we just pulled it up and gave it a few different conversation topics that we might be interested in, having a conversation around, and then she just kind of talked a bit, But if we trained her to be a specific individual who's an expert at a specific field and to be much more conversational, it would have looked different. So it's a crazy tool.
Yeah, very crazy tool, very interesting. A little bit funny.
Yeah. All right. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed our podcast with ChatGPT as our guest of honor. And have a great week.